Welcome to the Asking Autistics podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey, Brains and Spoons.
And I'm Rebecca, Ribera Bonbon. Today we are talking special interests.
Special interest is an intense passion, an intense interest. It can sometimes look obsessive to the outside world that many autistic people have and has a special interest, but it is really common, like extremely common for autistics to have a special interest, and you can have multiple special interests. If you have ADHD comorbid with your autism, then you may have special interests that you circle through and come back to, take a break, come back to. Yeah, we don't know anything about that.
That is absolutely me. Literally, because the thing is, I read one study that said autistic people have been recorded to have up to like 16 different special interests. Okay, you got ADHD probably because you can't all of those at once. I mean, not to armchair diagnose anybody, but and that's not me saying, like, it's just studied that autistic people can have a lot of special interests all at the same time. And one thing that I think people don't understand about special interests is that you can often engage in special interests in different ways than the other. So, like, I do have multiple special interests, but I don't engage with them the same. You know what I mean?
Right. But we collect Star Wars. Like, I would say sci-fi in general. It's a much bigger, like, sci-fi and fantasy is a special interest of mine. But I tend to collect those things and, like, watch media related to, like, Star Wars and stuff. But I don't spend as much time as I used to, like, learning about it and memorizing the worlds and stuff like that. Like, I don't have a lot of factoids anymore about it. And I think you've, like, told me all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
I have, just because, like, I know a lot of things because Star Wars is also one of my special interests. Like, I engage in Star Wars as a special interest in the weirdest fucking way. I have a hyperfixation on Star Wars kitchen items. So, like, I have about 4 different Star Wars waffle makers. I used to have
4 Star Wars themed waffle makers. 4.
They each make a different Star Wars shape. I used to also have an R2-D2 toaster who literally, he looked like R2-D2 and he made R2-D2 sounds done. And I unfortunately don't have him anymore. He's my lost buddy. But I do have, this is the one that I keep out of my kitchen. This is BB-8. He is my office guardian. He is here to protect me from bad vibes.
I love it. And just a reminder, if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, and you want to see the things that we're talking about, we are also on YouTube. And if you're a visual learner, check out our podcast on YouTube. Pointing too.
You can see how ridiculous I am.
Well, I mean, your other special interest is behind you.
Yeah.
The sharks. The wall of sharks.
Well, my shark wall has been through many iterations because I've moved a lot since becoming a content creator.
This is giving me spooky vibes, y'all. I like it.
This is my favorite evolution of the shark wall because I feel like it's just a nice, like, I look at this background and I'm like, she's a content creator. Plus, with this background, my office is, because it is a hot mess in here.
Well, it looks really good. Like, I was just like, ooh. Now I'm like jealous of the background and now. So yeah,
it's not a green screen. This is my actual wall.
But I've noticed with sharks, you love sharks. You want to watch them. You want to But
I want to live in sharks. I want to exist with sharks. I want to go to aquariums. But I don't actually do a lot of studying about sharks. Like, I don't engage a lot in the way that other autistic people do, where they're like, oh, I have to learn every bit of information about that. I do have a special interest for which I do that with, and that is Disneyland.
Oh, you are a Disney adult, big time.
I am the cringy Disney adult. I am not ashamed of it, but at the same time I am. Look up the history of the Disney parks all the time. I have so much knowledge in my head about Disneyland.
I have these books, actually. They're Disney encyclopedias. These are actually from like the 60s, but they were at my grandparents' house when I was growing up. Okay. I have the full set. There's a second box full of these. Like, So it's the Walt Disney Fun Fact, Fantasy, and Fiction, like, encyclopedia. So that
To go into the parks? Like, do they talk about the parks? Should I?
there's references in there. Yes, I believe. That's the only things I know about Disneyland were like in those encyclopedias. We'll have to like talk about this later.
Yeah, well, that's because you're on the East Coast. I literally live like 40 minutes drive away from Disneyland. And so I grew up going to Disney all the time. Like my mom used to pay for passes when I was in like middle school. And because I was homeschooled for most of middle school, my niece and nephew a lot. We went to Disneyland every Wednesday. Wednesday was Disney Day.
Nice. On Wednesdays we wear pink, and your family was like, on
And
Wednesdays we go to Disney.
Yeah, Disneyland is literally my longest held special interest because I was fascinated by it as a child. I loved Disneyland, but it was more in the way of like going there a lot, existing there a lot, learning the smaller bits of Disney trivia that all of the other cringy adults will tell you about, like hidden Mickeys and things like that.
Okay.
The one light bulb that like it took a Sharpie and covered half in red and half in white because they didn't plan the color-coded lights properly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know all the behind the scenes.
I do.
Disneyland.
The morbid one is I know every ride that somebody has died on.
Except technically, they won't declare them dead in the park. They'll call an ambulance and like, yeah.
That's actually a relatively new policy because they don't actually forcing that.
Yeah. But
they
have
make historically.
Yes, historically they also have good relationships with local hospitals, give quite a bit of money. So yeah, then it's like person will be declared dead on arrival instead of.
And if I do have to say, in the defense of Disneyland, I don't like defending multi-billion-dollar corporations, but in their defense, many of the deaths that have occurred were because of teenage games that they've been like, listen, man, teenagers are stupid.
We all were. Yeah. I look back at some of the stuff I did at 15 and cringe. Like, wow, I shouldn't have survived that. Yeah. Well, okay, we were talking about this the other day and you started to tell me. So I'm pointing to, for the those of you listening, I have a lot of tattoos and fandom tattoos, and I've got one of Toothless the dragon from How to Train Your Dragon, you just told me like before we started that it's not Disney.
No, it is not Disney. So what's interesting about that? So How to Train Your Dragon is a DreamWorks Studios film. However, Disney did have a great hand, like a huge hand in the development of DreamWorks Studios, and not in a good way.
Okay, well, what does that mean?
Okay, so listen, right.
Story time.
Michael Eisner. Michael Eisner is the most complicated person in Disney history aside from Walt Disney himself, because he started at Disney he was the head of Paramount Pictures, and then in the 1980s, I don't recall what year, 1984.
In the beginning where he'd be like, I'm Michael Eisner.
That's because they did this thing called the Disney Movie, which that's from when they were airing on like ABC and things like that. Because it was a long-held practice for Walt Disney to do that, and then he died. And when the other CEOs of Disney took over, one of them being Walt Disney's son-in-law, my ADHD is causing me to blank on his name.
Yeah.
He's Walt Disney's son-in-law, and he used to be a pro football player, and he had very interesting ideas for Disney as well. But he got ousted because they thought that it was just kind of nepotism, and he had very weird ideas, one of which was the Disney Channel, which they then stole that idea after they fired him. He was also very heavily involved in trying to build the production of the animation studios, which were significantly, this is very relevant to the Michael Eisner thing. So in the 70s and the early 80s, Disney was having a rampant series of flops. None of their films were doing well in the box office, like at all. They were all failing. Their animation was failing. Their live action was failing. And many of these have become like actual like
Cult
classics and things like that.
Magic Cauldron, right?
So that's that. Okay. So here's the thing. Michael Eisner, when he joined Disney, he brought along a man known as Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Okay.
Very important. So
remember this name.
Yes, remember this name. Jeffrey Katzenberg is also the main reason why The Black Cauldron failed, because he has a very infamous edit that he did to that film because he felt that it was too long and actually cut out a lot of relevant information, world building scenes. In my opinion, he's one of the biggest reasons why Black Cauldron failed. Even though it is now a cult classic, it was a box office failure. So Disney was about to go out of business. Like right before Michael Eisner joined the team, Disney was about to be taken over in a hostile takeover by a businessman who was literally going to divide and sell off the bits of the company. Disney was literally like this close to going out of business. Yeah. And they, shareholders and everything, wound up paying the guy off so that he would basically just quit and stop coming up with that idea. And then they hired Michael Eisner and Frank Wells. Frank Wells is a very beloved figure in the Disney community. He was very passionate about animation. He was very passionate about Disney animatronics. And him and Michael Eisner had kind of like a yin and yang relationship where Michael Eisner is an extreme micromanager who will throw every single idea at the wall and see what sticks. And Frank Wells was very much the tone it down and pick out the good ideas out of the massive amounts of bad ones that Michael Eisner had. And this entire time, Michael Eisner was grooming Jeffrey Katzenberg to be his successor.
Okay.
So for 10 years, Disney was on the up. Everything they created after Black Cauldron was a massive box office hit, starting with The Great Mouse Detective. So if you like Disney, you can thank The Great Mouse Detective. And then tragically in 1994, Frank Wells died in a helicopter accident when he was going to go mountain climbing on like one of the tallest mountains in the world because he was a big adventurer.
So not like your average everyday like.
No,
wow.
He was like a very big adventure person.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that helicopter crashed and he was killed instantly. And so after the mourning period, Jeffrey Katzenberg was like, Mike, you remember how you said I'm your successor? Can I have that job? Can I have that job? Am I going to get that promotion? And every time Michael Eisner was like, give it another year, give it another year, give it another year. And after Frank Wells passed, you can notice a decline in Disney animation, starting with Pocahontas and Hunchback of Notre Dame. Even though I love Hunchback, it's one of my favorites.
Those were darker, more adult. Michael Eisner specifically said he wanted Pocahontas to be sexy.
Actually, no, that was Jeffrey Katzenberg who said that.
Oh, that was okay.
That was Jeffrey Katzenberg.
And he grapevine that on purpose she was supposed to be like.
He literally called her Pokey. He's like, this is not a children's tale. We got to make Pokey very attractive or some shit like that. It was really gross and really disrespectful to indigenous people and the story of Pocahontas, which was not her.
And Pocahontas are not children's figures. Jessica Rabbit than it is. Yeah.
So Jeffrey Katzenberg for literal years kept asking Michael Eisner for the promotion that he felt he deserved. And Michael Eisner kept saying no over and over and over again. And Michael Eisner is a spiteful bitch, very much so. Like literally one of the first parks that he opened was Disney's Hollywood Studios. And he completely ripped off the idea from Universal Studios Orlando.
You're right.
Yep. Completely ripped off the idea.
Universal Studios and then...
it's more than just that. He was in the planning room for Universal Studios Orlando. And he completely ripped off their idea on purpose. Like, he pretends like he didn't. Like, Michael, let's be honest. So Michael Eisner is a very spiteful bitch. And because Jeffrey Katzenberg was getting more and more frustrated with the lack of promotion that he was promised, Michael Eisenberg Michael Eisner kept making things like worse for him at the Disney company. Basically, like professionally making a hostile work environment. And so Jeffrey Katzenberg was fed up. And so he comes to Steven Spielberg, who was also fed up with Disney because Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Disney and Steven Spielberg were having a massive like bidding war almost about who owns Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because it was supposed to be between the both of them, and Disney is more than they said every time. They've done it consistently. So Jeffrey Katzenberg is like, hey, Steven, let's go make our own studios. And this happened in like 1995, 1996, something like that. So Steven Spielberg and Jeffrey Katzenberg made their own DreamWorks studios. And because Jeffrey Katzenberg is also a spiteful bitch, he knew Disney for the next like 5.
That's right.
So he ripped off their idea and sent them into pre-production, and the goal was literally every single time, make it faster than Disney, make ours come out faster, make it come out faster. And they also have a significantly more adult tone than the Disney films, which I think is highly intentional.
Wanted that.
Yeah, and so then like DreamWorks almost went out of business in the late 90s. They were about to go out of business too because all of Boss sucked. They were awful. And
wait, so what was their Disney ripoffs that they made?
Like Ants is one of the biggest ones.
Ants, because Disney had A Bug's Life.
Yup.
Okay, yeah, Ants is way darker than A Bug's Life.
And it's awful. It's honestly awful. Like, let's stop kidding ourselves.
Yeah.
That's not a good movie.
I mean, I will say that conceptually,
it's interesting, but the execution is completely off.
I would agree.
Animated well.
Right. There's nothing that I'm quoting from that movie years later versus like...
Exactly.
I'm a beautiful butterfly. Like, Bug's Life is... Yeah.
So the next thing that they made when they were about to go out of business is Shrek.
And that revolutionized everything.
Yeah, because Shrek was...
That soundtrack to this day.
Oh, yeah. Shrek was literally designed to be an anti-Disney. It was literally designed to be everything Disney was not, and to make fun of Disney. Because Jeffrey Katzenberg is a spiteful bitch.
Look. It's Disney. It's a small world little figurine.
It's Disneyland. It was him making fun of Disneyland. And I'm pretty sure that Lord Farquaad is supposed to be Michael Eisner. Oh my God. Their faces look pretty similar.
I've heard rumors that it was someone's boss or old boss, and that would make sense then. It was Michael.
And what was really like from Jeff Katzenberg to Michael Eisner was that 1999 when Shrek came out, they finally, this is something Disney had been pushing for years, ever since Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture and lost. Disney was putting forward the idea of Best Animated Picture at the Oscars. 1999 was the first year they did it. And guess what beat out Disney? Shrek. So Shrek made a bunch of money. Yeah. And that is the entire reason that DreamWorks Studios is still around. What I do find funny is they did still movies on purpose. And again, they did them terribly. Just absolutely terribly. Well, absolutely terribly. Shark Tale. Shark Tale is a ripoff of Finding Nemo. He's going to do a fish movie. We'll do a fish movie.
Yeah, Shark Tale's not good. Finding Nemo is like...
Finding Nemo is one of the greatest animated features of all time. There's so much like psychology that you could do with Finding Nemo. Oh my gosh, yeah. Michael Eisner is like the person who saved the Disney company, because in the 80s, Disney saw the biggest boom that they have ever had in both film production and also in the parks, which is why in 1992, I believe, was the announcement of the Disney Decade, where they were going to revamp all of the parks. Everything was going to see new rides. There was going to be new lands. They were going to redo everything. And then their case-sized hole in the Disney finances that was Disneyland Paris, or as it was known then, Euro Disney.
They didn't want it, right?
No, they did not. The French literally threw eggs at Michael Eisner. Like, there's actual footage of them.
Like, they egged him.
Eggs at him. He dodges them. I'll give him that. And it is funny. But the French did not want a Disneyland there, and it was also the most expensive Disney park ever made. And yet they went with Euro Disney instead. I know that, like, it was just a big hole. So, like, basically almost everything from the Disney decade failed. Like, almost everything did. There was, like, 2 things that succeeded, which I believe were in Disneyland.
Did they upgrade any rides? Like, did they make them any cool things?
They did. I don't I'll get back to you on which ones they made in the 90s. Like, hold on. I'm literally going to look that up right now because this is my special interest and I don't know. So I'm going to.
Because I thought there was one that, like, they made it and it was, like, really bad. I don't remember. I feel like it was tied to, like, a movie that I didn't know was a Disney one.
So there are, trying to find the 90s, because the 90s was the Disney decade.
Like an alien ride?
That was one of the ones that I wanted to talk about. Okay, so that one is one of the most fascinating ones, honestly. So Michael Eisner, king of bad ideas, wanted to put an alien ride from the Alien franchise in Disneyland. So they licensed the
So not like E.T., not like kids movie, like
no, Alien.
a
rated R horror movie set in space. Because for a long time, Michael Eisner felt as though the Disney parks catered too heavily to children and families, and they were not inclusive of what teenagers wanted to see, which is why we got rides like Splash Mountain, because it was a more thrill ride, or we also got Star Tours, which again was like pandering to teenagers. They were like, okay, this is what teens want to see, because Star Tours isn't jump scare, but Alien was one of the best movies of all time. It was, and that was the one he was so determined to get into the parks. He licensed the theme park rights, and he tried so hard. He was like, it was originally going to be called Nostromo after the ship in Alien, and you were going to, you were going to see the xenomorph escape. And it was in this ride location from a former ride that was called Mission to Mars, which was one of the OG Disney rides.
Yeah.
And it was a simulation ride. It would put these like giant like seat, like the things that go over when you're on a roller coaster, the over the head lock-in.
Yeah.
Bars, thank you. Brain. I took my ADHD meds and it makes me have a little bit of brain fog at times. But
like the roller coaster bars, the seat lock-in device.
They put those seat lock-in devices because they're part of the illusion. They move, they create sensory experiences to make you think that this is happening. And the whole ride happens in the dark for the most part, with sound effects telling you what happens. And so they took out Mission to Mars, and they were going to have a ride based off of Alien called the Nostromo. And all of the Disney like the Disney Imagineers were like, no, Michael, this is a terrible idea. This is an absolutely terrible idea. Please stop. This is not what Disney is. Disney is family. Disney is not rated R, or at least it wasn't then. Thank you, Deadpool, for changing that.
You're right. Deadpool did.
It is literally the first
Technically Disney. Yeah.
made by Disney that is rated R. Made by Disney, well, not even directly, because technically it's like MCU, so like that's a subsidiary of the Disney company.
Right. But it's
which
still
is why they're getting away with it, because they're like, oh, it's not quite Disney.
Right. They're like, it's Marvel.
But it's Disney.
It is.
And so they were like, this is a bad idea. This is a really bad idea. So Michael Eisner was like, okay, fine, whatever. We'll create a new original story for it instead of using Alien. And so they happened to be working with George Lucas on Star Tours at the time. So they're like, hey, Lucas, come over here, fix this ride story for us, create this alien, do all of that stuff. And so George Lucas was like, oh yeah, cool. Because he also felt that Disney parks catered way too much to children. So he was always wanting to update them, especially Tomorrowland, because he felt that it never fully lived up to its potential, which Walt Disney also agreed to that when he died. So it was always something that needed to be redone. And
the concept of Tomorrowland, like if you're going to do futuristic stuff, you have to keep going. Technology like evolves and
you have to
catches up
keep
to you.
updating it. Funnily enough, Walt Disney in Tomorrowland, when it initially opened, Walt Disney actually did predict some technology that we use today that was not around back then. He predicted flat screen TVs, and he predicted that everyone would have a microwave in their home.
Wow. Okay. So between Disney and Star Trek, we predicted
right?
most of our technology.
So George Lucas was like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's figure out we'll blue sky and figure out this alien. So the alien story of what was now going to be called, oh my God, Alien Encounter. But the alien storyline was that they worked for this company that was like a futuristic company owned by aliens on a different planet. And they were trying to transport the leader of that company into the room with you so that he could say hi, so that he could introduce himself to you. Something goes awry, and instead you transport an alien that is absolutely terrifying, and it escapes and starts making its way around the room in the dark. At one point, a worker, an engineer, like this is an animatronic, but it was an engineer and you hear his voice. He comes in and he's like, oh, I'm going to try and fix this. Don't worry. We'll get you out. The alien kills him.
Oh.
You can feel his blood drip down on you.
Oh, no. No, thank you.
The alien flies around the room. It lands on people's shoulders. It's really creepy. It really is landing on the bars and like, and they're just mimic
fake, right? But that's still, I don't want to simulate that.
Yeah, and so when the ride came out, for one, George Lucas had heavily distanced himself from it because he realized halfway through, this is a bad idea. I don't really want my name attached to it, so I'm going to dip out. And then when it opened, because it was originally going to open in Disneyland, but instead it went to Orlando for their new Tomorrowland because they got a Tomorrowland update before we did. Hello, we were the original guys. We deserved it first, but that didn't happen. And the problem was in renaming the ride and redesigning it to be called Alien Encounter, they lost their built-in rating system because even though the original idea with the xenomorph, the alien that is in the movie Alien, that's what it's called, their original idea for calling it Nostromo, there is enough familiarity amongst parents at the time with what Nostromo is from. So that would have been like telling them like, oh, don't take your kids.
Grown-up movie, grown-up ride.
Exactly. Okay. So unfortunately, because they didn't have that rating system, even though they had a thing that said this ride may be intense for young viewers, people ignored that because that's what people do.
Yeah.
And it terrified everyone.
I would have been terrified.
Like everyone?
That's an adult.
The spooky bitches like me who like horror. I probably would have loved that because it's scary and I love scary stuff. I'm literally going to Halloween Horror Nights tomorrow.
Fun. That is my nightmare. Like I don't do horror.
I'm a horror bitch.
Nope.
I love it. But this ride was so scary that they frequently had to close it down like during parts of the day to clean up heat out of the...
That does not surprise me.
Children were so scared they peed themselves.
Yeah.
And the ride lasted for like, I want to say like about 10 years, but like after like year 5 or 6, it was really going under like seasonal management.
Who was riding?
Seasonal operations. Okay, bitches, we were riding it.
All right.
We were riding it.
They went hard for the teen and
they did. It
market.
Was successful on a very niche crowd, so that wasn't really enough to sustain it. They did, after the first year, they did go through and better refurbish the pre-show, and they rewrote the pre-show to start Tim Curry as the voice of the animatronic because they wanted to use the pre-show as a way of telling people like, hey, this is going to be a little spooky, because the original one was really funny. And and so
lulls people into a false security.
And Tim Curry has that perfect blend of knowing how to be creepy, but still funny.
That can't be spooky thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little off, but he's a little sinister at the same time. Yeah. So it was like really, it was good. It didn't fully fix everything. They cut out the part where it kills the maintenance worker.
Okay.
That was a very smart choice, but it was still scary for most people. Mm-hmm. And so it lasted until around 2004. I think it was 2003 or 2004 when Lilo and Stitch came out.
Oh, such a good movie.
Such a
and
good
there's aliens in it, but
there
are cute ones.
Yes. And so they revamped the whole ride, and it was called Stitch's Great Escape, and it involved Stitch being captured by the Galactic Empire, and he's teleported into the little cylinder, the cage. Oh, which, by the way, the alien encounter one, it ends with the alien being recaptured in the cage and then exploding. Like, that's how it ends. It was like really just like Disney.
They went hard for the horror. Yeah.
They went hard. So they revamped it with Stitch's Great Escape, and Stitch escapes his little cage the same way he does early on in the film, tricking the guns into like firing around the audience. And so like the sensors were like trained to like just barely miss them. And then Stitch escapes in the dark. He climbs on people's seats, and in the dark, you hear him steal somebody's food, and then he eats it, and then he burps in the audience's face. And they had little scent mixers.
Yeah.
And that scent was so disgusting, it left people nauseous and throwing up.
Oh, so they went from having to clean up from people being so scared that they
no, it's still scary to people.
Oh, so you got vomit. Oh, this is
vomit and pee. It was an idea. So that lasted again for like 10 years, 12 years.
I've never heard of those.
I heard of Stitch's Great Escape when I was a kid, and I really wanted to ride it. I really wanted to go to it, but my parents could never afford to take us to Disney World. And so I never got the opportunity to ride it, but I remember watching Imagine That, which was this little clip show that Disney Channel used to do in between shows and movies, where they would talk to actual Disney Imagineers about what they're making, what they're designing. And so I saw the Imagine That on Stitch's Great Escape, and I really wanted to ride that ride because I wanted to see the Stitch animatronic, which was the most expensive animatronic ever made at the time.
Wow.
And it was really, really cool, but I never got to see it in person. So then it
smelled it.
Yeah. Thank God, because apparently it really smelled awful. Ride ends with Stitch escaping, and there's like a little video depending on what time of day it is. So like if it was daytime, he would knock on the Cinderella castle and go, "Hello, Cinderella, it's me, your prince." And then she opens the door and he walks in and she goes, "You're not my prince." And then she literally throws him out.
That's cute.
And then if you were riding it at night, you would see him riding the Astro Blasters, which is this little like rocket ride, kind of like Dumbo, if you guys know.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like that, but just with rockets instead. They have one here in Disneyland, in California, Disneyland too. They have the original here, the first, just saying. But yeah, it was one of the most baffling choices for Michael Eisner to make. One of many. Like, he had some really good ideas at times. Like, again, Splash Mountain, great idea. Like, pushing for more adult stuff, kind of good idea. Because, I mean, we got more thrill rides and things like that.
Yeah.
But that one was a bad idea. It is really funny, though. He did wind up getting his way in getting an alien ride-ish in one of the parks, kind of, with the Great Movie Ride, which opened in Disney's Hollywood Studios, which was back then known as MGM Studios.
Yeah.
But it opened in Disney's Hollywood Studios, and it takes you through the history of movie making. And one of the movies that they take you through on this little tour is Alien.
Okay.
It changed the game for horror and sci-fi.
Yeah.
It was the first ever sci-fi horror film, and it was one of the scariest movies of all time. Like, a friend of mine, her dad went to see that movie when he was 17 because it was the first time he could see a rated R movie.
Mm-hmm.
He was never scared of another movie after that because that movie terrified him. It's not as scary by today's standards, but back then horrifying. And it was still one of the most popular movies ever made. So Michael Eisner, I'm pretty sure it was his favorite, because why else would
would he keep trying so hard?
And so there was a xenomorph animatronic that would pop out of the alien section in the Great Movie Ride, and it would attack the guest with its little mouth inside of a mouth. And that's also petrifying to children, because the xenomorph is terrifying to look at. So
I'm not a fan. So
bad idea. Bad Michael Eisner.
Don't scare and, make your customers sick. Not only are they scared, but they're sick. Like, that's awful.
Exactly. It's awful. It is awful. And Bob Iger was the one who wound up taking over after Michael Eisner.
Okay.
He's considered the one who actually did save the Disney company, because the second big failure of Michael Eisner on a large scale that really solidified everyone kicking him out and ousting him in one of the worst shareholder takeovers I've ever seen. And it was led by Roy E. Disney, Walt Disney's nephew. And the second big failure was California Adventure, which is the theme park right across from Disneyland here in California. And when it opened in the early 2000s, it never fully lived up to its potential. It was criticized for having the same price as Disneyland for none of the magic. It was themed to be like everything you find in California, all in one park, because they wanted to compete with themselves over in Orlando, where you can ride, or you can go in 5 different theme parks.
I've only been to Disney World in Orlando, so I'm trying to think of what that would be. But yeah, Disney World has like, each park has a lot of like big hitters.
Yeah. So they were trying to get people to stay at the Disneyland resorts, and they couldn't justify it with just Disneyland. So they built a second theme park, and it was themed. They didn't want to compete with Universal Studios. They didn't want to compete with Six Flags or Knott's Berry Farm, which are all major theme parks here in California. So they were
roller coaster heavy.
Yeah. And they're like, what if we set up everything you can see in California all in one park, so you never have to leave the park? You can just say, I went to California Adventure. I've seen everything that California has to offer. And it was heavily criticized for not having enough rides. They opened with I think 1 or 2 major rides, which was California Screamin' and the Maliboomer. California Screamin' was a roller coaster that had the first ever loop in all of Disneyland, or in all Disney parks, actually. And then they had the Maliboomer, which is just one of those Supreme Scream kind of rides where they take you up and they drop you.
Yeah.
And the rest of the rides that were there were either directed towards children, such as, the first ride that opened up where the children's section is now was this horrible idea of a ride that was trying to strike back at Jeffrey Katzenberg and make fun of him. It was this ride called Superstar Limo, and it failed in the first year because it was awful. It was just filled with stupid celebrity cameos, and that was it.
Wow.
There was no real draw to the ride. Although in their defense, it was originally designed to be a high-speed dark ride where you're being chased by the paparazzi in a limo.
That's how Princess Diana died, and
that was what killed that idea for the ride. So they had already built the track and everything, so they had to redesign it as a slow ride out of respect for Princess Diana. But those were the major rides, and the rest was just carnival games and carnival rides and just a shit ton of shops.
It's like the opposite of what Disney is. Like, Disney has movie tie-ins to everything, and then you go and make an entire park.
Do you want to hear what their biggest restaurant idea was for drawing people into eating at a restaurant?
No. What is it?
ABC soap opera restaurant, where you could dine in the different sets from different soap operas.
What child would ever want to do that?
Right? But that's so popular. Soap operas, the thing that everyone makes fun of.
Oh.
It was filled with bad ideas, and it was decently successful enough to stay open. But that was
just because people were like, hey, the lines are shorter at this park, or there's a discount for this one.
They did heavily discount it because they said it was a half-day park and not a full Disney park. They no longer do that. It's the same price as Disneyland, but they do have more rides and attractions now.
Yeah, is it movie themed now?
Somewhat. It depends. It is movie themed, yes. But the opening land, so originally it was like the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was very focused on like California Beach, and like they would play California Beach numbers. And then when Michael Eisner stepped down and Bob Iger took over, Bob Iger's main priority was bringing California Adventure up to what it should have been. And one of the first things that he did was redesign the Main Street aspect of it to be themed to the 90s Hollywood, which is when Walt Disney started, and it was based off of the locations where he started his career. Because, you know, Main Street is based off of Main Street in Missouri, where Walt Disney grew up. And so California Adventure is where his career started.
Okay, that's interesting. I did not know any of that.
I could tell you everything about Disney parks, like literally. Y'all can ask in the comments. I will answer all your questions. I got all the knowledge. I watch Yesterworld and Defunct Land like they are religions for me.
That's fantastic. Man, I think one of the biggest lessons we learned from all of those debacles is like, don't scare away your customers, right? Like, it's just don't make a horror movie for children.
Right?
Actually thinking about when I was a kid, like we weren't allowed to watch like horror movies and scary things, and I'm really glad.
It wasn't either.
But I did watch like a lot of classic films, like old vintage films and things. Like a lot of all things vintage is like one of my big special interests. But I think that like
that explains a lot, Lindsay.
Yes, but I did watch some Alfred Hitchcock films when I was probably too young, and I think that has contributed to so like The Birds with Tippi Hedren, like that. To this day, I still get like really, really creeped out when there's like a lot of birds.
I've never seen that.
You've never seen The Birds?
No, but I have seen like, you know, clips from it, and there's like this whole large murder of crows that I see every time I drive to my mom's house, and it's like it's like 300 of them, and I'm just like sitting there like, should I bring shiny things? Do you guys like that?
Here's the thing. So you can actually befriend crows because corvids are
friendship.
Yes, you could become friends with crows. Corvids, which is the family that crows fall under, but also like jays, ravens, magpies, those are also corvids. They are some of the smartest creatures on earth, if not the smartest. And that's what people don't realize, is that for so long, scientists and then the rest of us just assumed that the smartest animals were apes, right? Because they have such similarities to us. Like, you know, their brain and their bodies have similarities with humans. And
wait, so you tell me that something with a brain this big is smarter than me?
Not smarter than you, but like is very intelligent, highly intelligent. And
autistic bimbo shirts for a reason. Maybe I should sell shirts that say I'm dumber than a crow.
Yeah, the phrase bird brain and the idea that birds are dumb comes from, yes, the fact that they have very small brains. But what scientists have realized is that they have densely packed neurons. So basically, like the way they evolved is their brains didn't get bigger. They just got much more compact.
Were they
highly skilled
from dinosaurs?
Yeah. So what their brains, instead of, you know, like our brains get more synapse, and then
like they were larger as dinosaurs, right? Well, I'm just saying.
But basically their brains became highly functional and like specialized, right? So they got a lot of knowledge in a compact situation. So yeah, their neurons are densely packed, which means that quite a few birds are way smarter than we ever realized. And size doesn't always matter. Okay.
That was directed at you, men.
I was going to say, you make spicy content on that site.
Actually, it is scientifically proven that size does not matter. One of my other special interests is sex. And in like the science of sex, it has been scientifically proven that size doesn't matter. Apparently, it doesn't matter even if you're a bird.
I was going to say it doesn't matter in humans, doesn't matter in birds. And so what's been really fascinating for me is that they've been doing a lot more studies with birds. One of the wonderful things about the internet and social media and things like that is now the transmission of information is so much faster and people are able to collaborate and you're able to like, get in contact with each other and be like, hey, I saw that you did this really cool research. And then, so you can collaborate with other people. And so now we're like starting to realize these things. Whereas before it would be like some random paper somewhere, right? Like you hope you stumble across it. But now it's like
information was not accessible unless you knew where those random papers are.
Right. And now we're starting to see this stuff. So Corvids are highly intelligent. Not only are they able to learn things. So with crows, they have done official studies. There's also plenty of anecdotal data that shows that crows remember people. They learn faces and they hold grudges. They either like you or they don't. So the official studies where scientists would go out and they were wearing masks. And so the scary mask was like this caveman looking mask. I don't know, like a horror mask. And they would wear those masks. And that's when they would capture the birds to tag them, with the tracker device and stuff, which doesn't hurt the birds. So no birds were harmed.
Yeah.
That's still kind of traumatizing to a crow. They were like, what the hell are you doing? Right. And then they would go out just neutrally to watch the birds wearing a Dick Cheney mask. I don't know why that was the neutral one, but it was.
Oh my God.
I have thoughts, right? I have some thoughts about that, but apparently Dick Cheney was like the nice mask, the neutral mask. Okay.
The very irony.
Right. Yeah. That was what they had available at the time. So, the birds, what would happen then is when they would go out to like feed the birds or just go out into nature there, into their area, the crows would attack and make alarm calls and stuff when they saw the scary face, the caveman mask. And it didn't matter who was wearing it because like your body type and stuff didn't matter, but they recognized the face and they taught other birds, hey, this is a dangerous person. Like we got to get them out of here. And so, yeah, they hated the caveman, but Dick Cheney mask, on the other hand, they're like, okay, cool. Like, that's not a problem. Like, we don't care. Go about your business.
Do you think if the birds saw Dick Cheney, they'd be like, oh, hey, that dude's our friend?
I don't know. But I mean, possibly. But there's tons and tons of stories where crows have become friends with people. You could watch videos, TikTok and YouTube and all these places of people who would go out and they would whistle or they would call their dog or whatever noise they were making. And then they ended up feeding these birds. The birds all come when they're called now. Like they hear that, the person calling their dog and they're like, and then this flock of crows shows up because they got so used to like, they'll bring little gifts. They'll bring like shiny objects to people. And actually one guy accidentally, he had been like trading coins and like dollar bills with like the birds. Like it was just random things. And they started stealing money to bring him. He was like, oh my gosh, I started like a gang of birds. Like this is.
Can you imagine getting robbed by a crow?
That's the thing. It was like, where are they getting the money? Like tip jars and things like that? Like, we don't know. But he basically accidentally trained them to steal money from him. Yeah, I mean, I want to be like, wink, wink. He accidentally, but he did. So yeah, so you can befriend them. And they will remember you. They will teach their children. They will teach other generations of birds. This is our friend. We like them, or be scared of this person and attack them. This is an anecdotal data here. There were these drunk guys that for costume parties, it was like for Halloween or something, and they had multiple parties to go to, and they dressed up as cops, as police officers. They had like the uniforms, the hats or whatever, but they're just these two dudes. And they got inebriated and they were like throwing rocks and harassing a group of crows, right? So they were like, and they did this multiple times as they were drinking, which again, you should not do.
No.
But they were just being complete like assholes in these very noticeable uniforms, right? Well, his crows have now started attacking police officers because they associate that uniform with them being bad dudes. Well, this has happened in studies and just in real life. So crows remember people, as do ravens. So corvids, they know who you are. Like they will find you and possibly attack you or bring you presents. We don't know. They also have noticed that crows have a murder of crows, obviously, which is hilarious, but crows have funerals is what they've insinuated, is that when one dies, the rest of the murder will gather around. And what they've realized is it's not that they're like making, singing dirges or, giving a eulogy or whatever. They're actually investigating the death of that bird. They are gathering around and looking for clues as to why this bird died. Like, is there something poisonous? Is there something dangerous? Is there a predator? Like, what happened and how can we protect the rest of the murder? So it's like CSI. It's Crow Scene Investigation. Exactly. Corvids Scene Investigation. So yeah, they do their own CSI work because they're really smart. They're highly intelligent. Another set of birds that's incredibly intelligent is pigeons. And this is so heartbreaking to me because
pigeons.
Pigeons. I know that everybody thinks pigeons are just, my partner will be like, we were in New York and saw a whole bunch of pigeons and he was like, it's just rats with wings. And I was like, no, they're actually brilliant. And I started, oh my gosh, all the poor people around us. I was like, I need to tell you about the true story of pigeons. So here's the deal is pigeons were trained and bred to be assistants for humans. Like we, the way that like we have with dogs and horses and stuff.
To my secretary, the pigeon Pidgeotto.
Okay. We did that with pigeons is that for many, many years, pigeons were used as message carriers. They were messenger birds because they have such good pattern recognition skills. They memorized how to get from point A to point B. They recognize faces and things as well. And so pigeons were able to be amazing mail delivery animals because of their pattern recognition and because they could, differentiate where they needed to go and this message needed to go here. And
so are you telling
use them
that all pigeons are autistic?
They recognize patterns.
All pigeons are autistic. Lindsey, you heard it here. Lindsey Brains and Spoons. All pigeons are autistic.
They do actually have a book called All Cats Are Autistic, I think.
Yeah, I've heard that one, yeah.
But
they were wrong. It's pigeons.
It's pigeons. Well, the problem is that so we had bred pigeons and basically like they have evolved with humans and in our society and expected to be fed by humans, and they are not wild anymore. They were domesticated. And then we stopped using them with the telegraph and the telephone and all of these devices. Once that became the norm, we just said, oh, we don't need pigeons anymore, left them to defend for themselves. And that's the problem. It's like, that's why you see them eating trash and like hanging around humans all the time, is because like they were domesticated. And then we said, bye.
We talk about unemployment in this country. Why does no one ever care about the unemployment of pigeons?
That's really, it's what happened.
The telephone came in and stole their jobs. Down with phones.
So this idea that they're like grubby, grungy birds is like, no, that was our fault. Like we made them homeless and jobless. Like, so yeah, pigeons are actually great pattern recognition. They were very useful birds that we just left by the wayside. Yeah, gosh, there's so many, and they're birds of prey are also highly skilled. There's this bird called the caracara that lives in the southern hemisphere. That
look up a picture of that. How do you spell that?
Oh, don't ask me to spell. That's not good. I want to see C-A-R-A, but I could be very wrong. And the caracaras can do puzzles. They can mimic other birds.
Oh my God. You are correct. That is what it was. That's correct spelling. That looks like an eagle with a long neck and long legs.
They're in the same family as hawks, and yes, they're birds of prey.
Like eagles if they were a supermodel.
Yeah. And they're much smarter than eagles. Like they are also these highly, highly intelligent birds. Anecdotally, there was a man who was a performer, like a carny magician, that kind of thing. And he had another bird, a parrot, I assume, that he had used that would, he had taught some tricks and it did a lot of vocal stuff. Well, this caracara that was like a wild bird saw his act, saw that he was doing all this stuff with this bird and taught it. So basically observed and was like, I could do that, and started doing the tricks to try to get snacks and things. It was like, I could do the same thing. And so he ended up bonding with this bird and took it on the road and did all these shows with it. I mean, this bird could solve puzzles, like could communicate, could mimic, like I said, other bird calls and things. And it was all because like she wanted to. Like this bird just thought this is fun. It was stimulating for this bird to do all these things. It wasn't like
all caracaras have ADHD and all pigeons are autistic. Confirmed. You heard it here from Lindsey Brains and Spoons.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna get me in so much trouble. No, but
you're joking for everyone on r/fake disorder cringe. These are the foreign concepts known as jokes.
Yeah, but they've seen, that's the thing is like with caracaras, it's like they do what they want, you know, and this bird happened to want to have interactions with humans, but they've seen that. Scientists have also then studied, it's not very many. It's like a very limited, you know, small studies of studying caracaras. But again, if they don't want you, they just won't. They're like, no, I don't want to do it. But like, if they enjoy your company or they think it's fun, they'll do all sorts of like stuff. Fascinating to me. Like they're very like, I don't know, that's like the little PDA bird. Like I'll do it because I want to, not because you told me to. Right?
Question about that though. Like that, I feel like that would require a certain level of like sentience and self-awareness. Like,
yeah.
Are they self-aware?
Yeah. Well, so there's also been tests where they've done like these birds recognize themselves in mirrors. And again, there's such small studies. And again, you have this, like you've got some of these birds are very particular about things, but they've trained pigeons to be able to recognize that they are in fact looking in a reflection. They are in a mirror. And then there has been anecdotal data or observations of like with different corvids and birds of prey, like seeming to like, they do have some self-recognition. Yes. So like, I would never eat any, not that they are common.
No.
But I couldn't. It's the same with octopi because octopodes, octopuses, which by the way, all of those words are the plural. It's one of those language things that I love. They are sentient beings. They are highly intelligent. The fact that they
I don't eat octopus.
No, I don't either because they
calamari. I'm not gonna lie, which is squid.
Yeah, I know what it. Oh, for anyone else who didn't know,
for the readers, the listeners who don't know,
that is. Yeah, it's simply their lifespan is so short, and that's the only way that they aren't like are equals or, you know,
caracara.
No, I'm taking. Sorry, octopi. I got sidetracked. But caracara are again like if they want to befriend humans, they can, or they also will interact. Like they are considered pests in some towns in the Southern Hemisphere because they will, open things and steal things, figure out how to open a window and get into your kitchen and eat things they weren't supposed to. Like,
it looks like they live in like Brazil, South America, and deep parts of Mexico.
Yes.
Just so viewers know where these birds are. So that you can.
So when I mean Southern Hemisphere, I mean South America specifically and Central America.
You can go and fight for the birds' rights in those countries, and if you want,
they want to, because they may not like you, and they remember who you are and attack you.
Do you think
they have grudges?
Do you think they ever sit there and they're like, "This person likes me too much. They're trying too hard. I don't like you."
I mean, they are similar to cats in that they are very like persnickety. Like they're very. I think they sound amazing. I have obviously never like met one in person, but I am completely fascinated by them. I also think like parrots and macaws, that bird family is called the citizens. I'm probably butchering that.
Complicated word.
It's PSITT. Yeah, citizens, I think is how it's said. That family of birds is also highly intelligent, especially when it comes to language. And math. So parrots,
Wait, what do you mean math?
Okay, so numerous birds. Again, we don't have enough studies because everybody was studying monkeys. Somebody thought that they could teach gorillas how to use sign language, which, by the way, not actually real. Coco the gorilla did not know sign language, did not actually communicate with Robin Williams, you guys. That's all been debunked.
She mean
Yeah.
Williams lied to me?
No, but just so you know, like, anyway, we have given so much like weight and funding and stuff to studying apes and try to communicate with apes. Like, meanwhile, birds have been here the whole time and they have learned English. Okay, like they have learned to talk to us. Parrots and macaws and things in that family, because I'm not going to try to butcher the word again. Those birds can, not only do they mimic other birds, not only do they learn other bird calls, and that's been studied, which is fascinating. Like, there are numerous birds in that family that can do this. The way that they study language is like, it's kind of like music, where it's like you have like A, B, and then A, C. Like, there's a pattern to it. If you're somebody who works, like, especially like in music and things, you can break down language patterns that way. And that they realize that a lot of these bird calls that we thought were just pretty or like, oh, it's just a mating thing, have patterns. They have meaning. This is a language, okay? And then when it comes to the Pacificines, I think I'm saying it wrong.
I'm just going to say that that's good pronunciation. Okay. I don't know, but it's better than I can do, so it's good.
So this family of birds is incredibly gifted when it comes to learning languages. And so not only can they learn all of the different bird calls, but this is where you get your parrots and your macaws and things that mimic, humans that learn. And then they've tested some of these birds that were really gifted with language, and they can identify things. Like, they learn that this word has a meaning that goes along with it. So they are actually learning language. So they're not necessarily like, yes, some birds are just repeating things. It's almost like echolalia, right? But no, some of them, though, have learned the meaning, and scientists can be taught. They do associative learning. So that's a big thing too, is that we've realized birds are learning. Not all of them, but the corvids and the citizens, like these families,
they're going to take over.
They might
take over.
Dinosaurs are coming back with a vengeance.
You know what I find really interesting about this? So I have a dog, Kiyoshi. She's a standard American poodle, which is apparently one of the smartest breeds. We have all the buttons, like those, like press the button.
Oh yeah,
to help her communicate. She can't figure it out for shit.
No, that's the thing. So there's this whole trend with using AAC devices with dogs, and like, dogs are highly trainable and they are expressive. Especially certain dog breeds are very expressive, so they can communicate to you using sounds or like kind of facial expressions that they don't use with each other. They are all for humans. They are like, if I do this, you will do this thing that I need. So it's transactional with humans, because this is the thing, like, you can train quite a few animals to do things. Dogs are highly trainable. Yeah. Horses are highly trainable. Okay. And certain species of birds are highly trainable, but then they also will do things on their own, or they will do observational learning. But here's one of the examples. So like, some of these parrots have learned the meanings of words. They will go through flashcards or show objects, and the parrots will tell you what it is. Okay. But they've also realized that they can count to about 17 is like the average. Yes. They can do basic math. They will realize when you've taken one away or you've taken two away. They just basic math. And so, they've done
can do math better than me.
But so they're doing basic counting and arithmetic and again, but they are learning. They are great with patterns and mimicry. And so they've learned languages, again, are so fascinating. They're so much more intelligent than we ever thought, in this idea that, like, having a tiny brain or being a bird brain is a bad thing. I'm like, no, they're so cool.
So bird brain would be a compliment then.
It should be, right? Yeah. Bird brain should be like, thank you so much.
You have a bird brain, Lindsey.
Yeah. Well, what else is really fascinating is that for so long, scientists, again, because everybody just hyper-focused on just the one animal, we thought that apes were the only animals that were using tools, which is also, so all of these are ways that we test intelligence, by the way. It's like, what types of learning can an animal do? Associative learning, which is more like training. It's like Pavlov and that kind of stuff. And then can they take those skills they've learned, and can it translate to another scenario? Can they build upon that? And that's then like a secondary type of learning. So that's a different kind of intelligence. The use of tools is a sign of intelligence. And like, again, we just thought, oh, gorillas do that. Like, so do corvids, so do a whole bunch of birds.
Yeah,
They
don't some, I mean, like, it's not quite a tool, but like, don't some birds pick up turtles and then drop them from large heights so that they can eat them?
Yeah, and like any shellfish, they'll drop shellfish to break their shell. Yes, that's problem solving. And they've seen, so that is a type of learning, is being able to implement that. And what's fascinating with that is that sometimes birds are taught that, and sometimes we've observed them doing trial and error, where birds from one location are exposed to a new food source or, something. And it's like, how do they deal with it now? And they will trial and error and realize, oh, okay, let's see what happens if I drop it on a rock. And so, yes, there's cognitive function in there, is by, dropping things. But no, what corvids and some other birds will do is they will use, like, they'll pick up sticks to poke into things to be able to get insects out of a hole.
Literally a tool.
Yes, they will use simple tools. And what we've started to find out, and I say we like I'm a scientist, I'm just somebody who likes to read a lot, but that some corvids are using compound tools, which means they're putting two things together, okay? Like they are attaching a stick, a piece of tar, something sticky to, like, they are using a piece of trash combined with another piece of trash. They're combining two things to pick something up, right? So they're not just
they're creating tools.
Yes.
As well as using,
which is a whole nother level of problem solving. And that's a whole different type of intelligence. That is, again, the team. So we now have apes that do this. We have octopuses that do this, and birds, corvids especially, do this. And so we've just been ignoring them for too long. I'm like, the whole time. So yeah. And what's fascinating is, like, scientists will create puzzles that are multi-step. That's the thing, is like, when you see rats and mazes and things, steps. Yes, that you have to remember the previous steps, but also they have tests. So it's like you have to push this, jam a stick in there, and then you can, like, open this
and they can figure that out.
Yes, and not only can you, like, train them to do it, obviously, like, birds tend to be, a lot of these species of birds are highly trainable, but at the same time, they can give a new multi-step problem or puzzle to a corvid, and they will figure it out. They do problem solving on their own, that they are able to go, wait a minute, I used a stick in this situation, but maybe if I use a stick here and then pull here and do this thing, like, I can get the food. I mean, usually, obviously, there's something that they want, and that's usually food. But again, they are capable of problem solving, of learning other languages, of pattern recognition, remembering faces. There's some self-awareness and sentience happening. They're performing crime scene investigation, like
growth scene investigation, Corvid scene investigation.
Yeah, more excited than I am scared to be like, what else are we going to find out that birds and corvids especially can do? Yeah, I mean, and I just feel like we just weren't paying attention. And so now it's like, okay,
let's pay attention before it's too late and they get so intelligent that they take over.
Yeah, they're so fascinating, but I still, like, don't, like, want birds as pets or anything like that. Like, I'm still, because of Alfred Hitchcock movies as a child, and then I got pooped on by birds. Again, my childhood. But
that kind of is the way I am with spiders. Spiders are a big special interest for me, but I like them to keep their distance.
Yeah, that's what stinks. I would love to be like a volunteer intern for research project, to just go out and observe animals for them. But I was like, I can't do that because I don't want to touch it. I don't want to be.
We actually, we have a bird here. It's not a parakeet, but I don't remember what breed of bird it is, but I'll sit there and I'll sing to him. And what's really cute is when I sing to him, he starts dancing. He likes to dance when I sing. Yeah. It's really fascinating. And my boyfriend taught him, he only does this with my boyfriend because my boyfriend is like his daddy, basically.
Yeah.
But whenever, because his name is Groot, and so my boyfriend taught him to like chirp, I am Groot, but the bird isn't saying the words I am Groot, but he's chirping
The pattern.
chirp, chirp, chirp. Exactly. And so like every time my boyfriend goes, you are Groot. It's so cute. It is the most adorable thing. He's like literally chirping right now.
Yeah. So again, don't underestimate birds. Like they're especially corvids. Yeah. I think that is, I'm going to show you this. I have a piece of art actually. I just realized that's like on my desk.
James should talk at some point because James also has a fascination with birds, especially crows.
Yeah. So here's nice. There we go. We've got crow. A little picture. I've got crow art. I collect ACEOs, which are like little tiny pieces of art that artists will make because it's inexpensive. That's like the art collection I can afford is like, a couple dollars here and there.
That's adorable though.
But I have pictures of ravens and crows that I would probably get a tattoo with ravens, of course.
As you should.
On my nature arm. I'm highly allergic to bees, but I find them fascinating as well. So like that, I am like the bird insect autistic. Like that's my brand, where like, I feel we were joking about this we have a autistic, like little friend chat, little group chat going on. And our friend was talking about like their Lego obsession. And I said that should be like, it's like, choose your character. Like, in like autism was a video game. And like
autism.
Right? So I would be like bird and insect autism.
I would be shark and cringy Disney adult autism.
Because, I don't feel like Victorian death rituals autism. That's not really a common one. That's just me. That's my special interest that I did not info dump on.
Tell me about that at some point. Like, we're going to have another info dump episode so that you can tell me about this Victorian death rituals.
Oh my God, I love the Victorian. I have so many Victorian era. I love it so much.
I will probably still talk about a Disney park, but probably Epcot, because Epcot is
Disney River. Those will be great. I think, yes, to the sequel, info dump.
The sequel, info dump, the squeak wall, or birds, the squawk wall.
Yeah, it would be.
Sorry, that was the worst pun I've ever made. I will see myself out.
Yeah, I was like, we could do the Victorians and Disney. Yeah, I dig it.
I wish.
I think it would be fun if we have some of our autistic friends come in and just info dump about their special interests.
Yeah, triple it.
Yeah, if you are listening or watching and you would like to info dump, please do so. Tell us about your special interests in the comments.
Dump in those comments.
Oh my gosh. It's my favorite thing. Like, I love listening to people passionately talk about stuff.
I could literally passionately talk about Disneyland all day. Seriously, James and I just set up a system where every time I finish a big project, I get to go to Disneyland because we have passes. So that's our laboratory thing.
That is great incentive. I feel like
it really is.
I have a couple friends and honestly, it probably started with my parents where I have to like warn them ahead of time. I'm like, this is one of my special interests. Do you really want to hear me talk about this? Like, yes or no? Like you've opened Pandora's box. Like, you can tell me, are we going to casually talk about this?
Warn me when I take them to Disneyland, because I'm like, listen, I qualify for the guest services DAS pass. And so in exchange for having you use my accessibility, you have to hear me info dump about this park the entire day.
Okay, see? I think that would make you an amazing tour guide. Like, woo! Tour
would be if I didn't make spicy content or any content, because Disney.
Well, no, I just mean for me personally, that's my dream. My dream trip now is to visit you in California, and you just take me through Disneyland and tell me all the things I get dressed like a princess. No.
Disney
bounding.
You know what?
Different than cosplay. I'm
gonna find, because there's a trend here with the Disney adults. There is literally a designated day called Dapper Day.
I know. I've always wanted to do it.
Find Dapper Day and plan you traveling out here around Dapper Day, so that you can come decked out in your Lindsey best.
You don't know what a dream. I have Pinterest boards like that are, my dream plans about this. Yes. Like Disney bounding is like,
I would participate, but there's a reason I only dress as Disney villains with Disney bounding, and it's because I'm goth and I like to wear all black.
That's fantastic. I'm weird. Like this time of year, like at October, I will be hardcore goth. Like I will be doing a ton of fun things. So yeah,
I'm always hardcore.
Put that on. Yeah. Let's put that on all the stories on all the places. Us doing our
absolutely
goth October.
Goth. Yes,
I like it. All right. Well, if you enjoyed this, or even if you hated it, let us know.
Yeah.
By commenting, liking, subscribing, pushing any and all buttons.
Even if you're against the hate, comment still boosts our algorithm, so we'll take that money.
Cry. But reveal.
Yeah. I'll take the money. Lindsey will cry and it'll be fine.
All right. Thank you for listening if you got it this far. I am Lindsey Brains and Spoons.
And I am Rebecca Ribera Bonbon, and I'm going to go give all the crows the Radzar autism test.
Bye.